I would always watch my sister, who performed when I was younger, so she would do high school plays and things like that, and I would always watch her sort of in awe, as a younger sibling does. And I remember really sort of around the dinner table, I think, there was a sort of sense of performance at times, of like reenacting the day, and then quickly I got into it in school, and then even sort of more quickly than usual, or the usual person, I started trying to do it professionally. And by the time I was 10 or 11, I was in had a little role in a movie, and continued to go to school. And then by 15 or 16, I landed my first sort of large role in a movie, this film October Sky. But I think it really began watching my sister, and just my parents' love of performers and actors, and maybe being sort of infected by that. There are so many that I could draw upon, but I think maybe particularly Danny Kaye, for some reason. When I was a little boy, I remember watching The Court Jester that Danny Kaye was in, and just being mesmerized by him, and sort of seeing his work and saying to myself that I wanted to do the same thing. Be sure of why you want to do what you want to do. As a performer, I think we're sensitive to so many things, but insecurity is one of those things that I think can be pried upon and can be sort of turned against yourself in a way that, ultimately will make you make choices that aren't completely coming from your own heart. And my biggest advice is to start from a place that you know, and a foundation that's sure, that you are clear about why you're doing what you're doing, and that you love the process, and that you know what types of stories you want to tell. Even if you're not the one choosing to be in the story, even if you're auditioning, and being clear about who you are and what you believe in. Be very sure and clear about how you feel as a human being, because your feelings are all you really have, and they are your guide in everything that you do, even when you're creating a character. And if you're not sure about how you feel, or what feelings are, because we live in a world, I think there's a lot of stimulus and a lot of stuff going on, a lot of ways of avoiding those feelings, and I think that primary job of an actor is to know your feelings and that instrument, and so to be sure of it is the most important thing.
It's amazing to think about the fervor that surrounded Brokeback Mountain when it was released 11 years ago. Heath, Aang, and I were at the center of a storm that year, fielding the praise and controversy that came from telling a love story about two men. Standing here tonight, I can't help but think about Heath and how much he would have loved to witness all of this incredible change that has been effected in the LGBT community in the intervening years. I remember the day we shot our big love scene. When we finished the scene, both Heath and I, we got up and we looked over to see a huge smile on Aang's face. And I was surprised, because though you might not know it, Aang has a really great sense of humor. He rarely smiled on set. But this was a shit-eating grin. And so naturally I walked up to Aang, and I was excited to see any sort of emotion cross his face. And eagerly I asked, I was like, how was that? How was that? You liked the scene? And he just was nodding in a really awkward way. And he just said, "So gay." That was the first of many times that he said that.
I love you, Jake. I truly do. Jake, you said it was quiet and modest in Brokeback Mountain. It's not because of wisdom, it's because I was so tired. I was like half asleep when I directed that movie. After Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and the Hulk, I was so racked, I could barely stand. That's the only one movie I got out in the morning, I couldn't get up, I didn't want to go to work. That said, I was blessed. I went there and somehow it seems like the movie just did it by itself. You're a genius. Heath, we miss him. All the young, wonderful talent, they're scarily good. All I did was put the camera there, and the shots in Brokeback Mountain are quite boring. That's why there's so much silence. I just made the days. I had no ambition. Somehow, I think my exhaustion earned that modesty.
It's not about a genre or about even sometimes a specific character. It's if I feel that there is an honesty and a sort of beating heart that exists underneath material. You know, so often you can say, oh, well, I really want to play a cop, but that isn't really, to me, the reason why, for instance, a movie like End of Watch, I gravitated towards it, because not only somebody like David Ayer, who I think is so brilliant as a writer and as a director, but I think what really drew me to it was the relationship and the heart in the middle of this film. You know, I mean, we've seen so many cop genre movies, and you know, this is different because of that friendship, and the friendship could be taken out of that car and put in any other context. And I think I look for that in everything I do, some sort of sense of honesty and truth between characters. Someone said to me once that and I know that my mother being a screenwriter, she's not going to agree with me on this, but that, you know, great movies have been made out of mediocre scripts and not great movies have been made out of great scripts, you know, so there is something in that process, because there is a general kind of philosophy that you need a great script, which I agree with. I totally agree with. But ultimately, I think you need an energy. You need a drive and a belief in what you're doing. And that belief, whatever that is, can change an entire film. It can change anything, really. For a long time, I was looking for a sense of resolution at the end of a movie, or the sense of resolution at the end of a scene, or, you know, feeling like, as Chris Cooper once said to me when I was working with him, is never having any regrets. I think that's impossible, you know, in a way. There is no resolve, you know. The thing about making a movie in particular, and then I think actually being on stage now, it's kind of illuminated more when you're on stage, is the sense that you never fully get there, you know, and it's a constantly searching for that thing. You get behaviors and pieces, and it comes together, but you never really do. It's you know, it's I think there are specific instances. Like, I remember trying to break through this scene in this movie I did with David Fincher's movie Zodiac, where it's raining and I run up to this door and I'm trying to get information, and we shot the scene twice, and we shot it probably over, I had 50 takes of it, and I remember I never really got that scene. And if I did, or if he did, I never did, which is an interesting thing as an actor. Education is so essential, because there's no way of knowing what good material is, or knowing if a story is original, or knowing what makes a story original, or know how to interpret a story, or even to help, if you don't have a solid education. Doesn't mean you have to go out and get it, like from a common institution, but to educate yourself is the most important thing. Otherwise, you'll be making blind choices that you're not sure about. Through all the beauty that is what I can see from somebody like, who I admire so deeply, someone like Paul Newman, or that your life is everything. And, you know, with all of the lights and all the stuff and the all-consuming thing that is the business of making movies, you know, so often you can get sidetracked from that because it's so enticing and amazing. It's amazing people involved. But ultimately, your life, your family, and those things are the priority. So if anything, from somebody like Paul Newman, that's what I learned, have learned so far.